So today let's talk about Final Destination Bloodlines or Final Destination 6. This came out at least a month ago, but I have not been as much on the reviewing recently because I've just been busy. Uh, really busy job, a lot of overtime. So I just haven't had the chance to talk about this one. And I really do want to talk about Final Destination Bloodlines because as a franchise, I really love Final Destination. And I've watched these for I don't know, since I've been a teenager, so at least 15 years plus of time spent watching this franchise. And I've always enjoyed it. And I think Final Destination just really gives off this fear that I had for a lot of things. Like for example, I was so afraid of going on a plane or a roller coaster, and it's because of these movies. Like literally I had never been on an airplane until a couple years ago, and I've gone 3 or 4 times since. And airplanes don't kill you right away, so I guess that's what I'm really afraid of watching these movies as a younger person, and even as a kid. These movies really did give me that fear of like, what if this happens? What if you die on a plane? What if you die on a roller coaster? What if you die in a car crash? Blah blah blah. And I've always loved the franchise, so I'll say quickly how I feel about the whole franchise. So the first one is really good, but honestly, the first one might be my second to least favorite out of all of them. The first one is a solid, effective movie, and it's a slow burn. It is definitely not trying to be, hello cat, is not trying to be a Gorathon. The original is not supposed to be that. The original is supposed to be a slow burn thriller, and understandably so. With each sequel, you're not going to spend the same time having these characters figure out what is going on, that death is after them after avoiding a accident. So the first one is a slow burn, but in a good way. That honestly makes it quote unquote one of the best ones in terms of structure, because if you're looking for a slow burn methodical horror movie thriller, the first one is not as much like the others. The first one, like I said, is an anticipation to build up. It is not just like all the other sequels, which I love. Not dishing or ragging on any of the sequels. I love all the sequels too, but the first one is different in that aspect because it is really a slow burn mystery, supernatural mystery that like becomes elaborated as the movie goes along. And I love the first one. I think it's awesome. Really great. The second one, even better. The second one is really cool because it just connects all the stuff from the first movie. Wraps it all into one bow, actually. Like how these characters connect and why they are alive because of what happened in the first movie. So the first two movies have a really interesting story structure because they both connect as the original and a sequel. And none of the other sequels do that. Every other sequel is standalone. They don't have pre-existing characters besides Bloodworth in any of the other movies. So the first two are interconnected sequels that actually connect with the characters from each movie. But the second one, like I said, the car crash in the beginning is one of the best. All practical besides the logs. That's an accomplishment. In 2003 too, that was really cool that they didn't just use all CGI. They had to use the CGI logs because, of course, they didn't bounce. They're not gonna bounce and fly into the car and get your head smashed off. That's not gonna happen in real life. And the third one, I love the third one. I honestly think, in terms of style, the third one might be one of my absolute favorites. I think that it is eerie. It looks great. It's a great shot movie. It's also directed by James Wong, who directed the first one as well. And it really looks great. And I think three has got a good mixture of both horror and humor to it. And that's where it starts to really become, like, I feel like three is where the franchise starts to really gain traction and what it's going to be solidified as, a gore fest. And I love that. I love that in three. I like the characters a lot, even though some of them are annoying. The main character is great. Wendy's great. The Final Destination, the fourth one, I think is really fun if you're looking for a bad movie time. Like, it is so unapologetically just exploitation. The fourth one is literally just, let's just show all these kills. Let's show in 3D. Let's show all the 3D effects, and we're gonna show you all these gory kills, but really really skimp on the character development and make them just carbon copies of the other movies. Is what the fourth movie felt like, and I feel like those actors didn't really get much to work with in the fourth movie. So it's interesting that the fourth movie became the sudden downhill spiral where a lot of people, critically for sure, were like, this is the worst, obviously the worst. But I still have fun with the Final Destination Part 4. I think 4 is good as well, in just terms of another reason. It's just so gratuitously exploitive, and I think that's really fun about the fourth one. And Final Destination 5 is, oh, again, spoilers for all of these. I wrote it in the thumbnail. Spoilers for everything. The fifth one, which is a prequel to the first one, is really good. I think that it has maybe my favorite ending, just because of the shock value. Like, oh wow, it's set before the first one. They literally did a 360 where these characters from the fifth one interconnect to the first one. That is really cool. The fifth one is very methodical and slow too. Like, it's still got the gory kills, but it's not trying to be like the fourth one. It's trying to be more down to the thrilling aspect of it, where you build on the kills, which the fourth one had the problem with. There wasn't much build up. It was just a lot of kills, and it was quick. And it was also the shortest movie, the fourth one. That was like an hour and 20 minutes with credits, which is insane. But like I said, just that as an exploitive fun, I think 4 is fun. But 5 definitely goes back on track to be like the other movies, where it's just trying to be more on the level of being a suspense thriller. And honestly, if I had to say this, I think the fifth one might be, in terms of structure, might be one of the more slow burn ones after the first one, and it really fits with like the first two. I think. I feel like it just does a good job and takes its time with the kills and with the anticipation of what's going to happen. So yeah, like I said, I love the franchise, the first 5. When Final Destination Bloodlines was coming out, Final Destination 6, I was super excited. I was really ready to see this, and like I said, I've seen the franchise a million times. I watched these movies over and over. And I think this one might be my favorite one. And that's from watching this franchise over and over again. It's a lot to say that this might be my favorite now out of all of the films. That's crazy to me because I genuinely love all the other ones. But this one is the most critically acclaimed and made the most money, which is really insane. This movie just gained a box office that was unprecedented in terms of all the other movies, which the other movies made a lot of money too. Like, the fourth one was the highest grossing until now, which is insane that that's considered the worst, but that's like the highest grossing one. But Final Destination Bloodlines genuinely surprised me. I love the fact that this movie starts out with the premonition like the other movies, but it turns you on your head. It does the Scream 5 thing where, like, you've got a new character and it's going to do different things about it and elaborate on the formula but make it different. And I like the fact that you get a premonition in 1968 and then it's nightmares for the main character Stephanie in current day 2025, and she is encountering this premonition in her dreams, and that is something that you've not seen in any of the movies. And every movie tries to do stuff that's slightly different, or every sequel is. They try to do different stuff, like how people see the visions. And this one was definitely unique because you have a character who isn't a part of the premonition in the beginning. And the thing that I love, this is called Bloodlines because it is about a bloodline of a family from Iris, the character in 1968 who survives by having the premonition of the tower falling, and she saves everybody. But since she is alive, nobody has died in her family. But through circumstances, of course, she's going to die, and she does graphically. So Stephanie, her granddaughter, who had been seeing these visions, she goes and she sets it off. She sets off death, right, Kitty? Right, ma'am. She sets off the cataclysm of just all the family dying, and I love that. I love that this story is not trying to. It is still a Final Destination movie, but it is trying to be something that is different in enough of a way that really made me like it. And this one might even more so than the first movie. Might be This is definitely the most character driven. And that's what's really surprising because, like I said with the first movie, I pointed out that the first movie is a slow burn. It is not just kills every 5 minutes. It takes 30-40 minutes to at least get one kill, I think, after the initial premonition in the original Final Destination. And in this one, you get a lot of kills, and they're great, by the way, but you don't get them. You get them more sparingly, even though there's a lot. There are a lot of kills in this movie, and that's what I love about this movie. It balanced really well character development plus the kills. And I love the fact that this is about a family, because in the other movies, like the first one, it's about a group of high schoolers. The second movie, it's about random people on a highway. The third one is about high schoolers. The fourth one is about a couple of friends, like at a NASCAR race, and the fifth one is a group of workers. But you never had family as the core set of characters, and just having family sits off in your brain like, oh, I got to care more about these characters because they're related, they know each other, and they are family, so they are connected to each other in a way where you're going to be like, man, if one of these people die, I'm going to feel bad. So I really liked that. I thought that was awesome. I really love that. Also, I've got my laptop out. That's why I'm doing better, I think, at talking, because I feel like doing these reviews, I have trouble remembering things, and I'm glad that I have the laptop here to actually talk about stuff that I like that I would have forgotten if I did just review without it. But I wanted to say, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page right now, that the directors, Zach Lipovsky and Adam Stein, I'm reading that they both did a Skype test call for trying to become the directors of this movie, and they did a cool stunt where one of them got their head cut off, not really, but in a cool practical effect in the background of a Skype call, which is very funny and very cool, and I like seeing that. And these directors, from what I'm looking at, I don't know if I've seen. I don't even know if I've seen anything that they've done. Either one of them. Zach Lipovsky and Adam Stein. Oh, well, I guess actually, no, I have not seen. I've seen Leprechaun Origins. Okay, they directed that. Leprechaun Origins is the WWE one, right? Yeah, Lionsgate. Yeah, the WWE Studios. Oh my god. So, okay, so that one wasn't very good, but I guess I've seen that. I guess that they did that movie. So I didn't see anything else from these actors. They did a Kim Possible reboot. That's weird. Like a live action Kim Possible. I watched Kim Possible as a kid. But anyway, sidetracking. So these two directors just really did an awesome job with this movie, and I thought that just everything about it, the character development, the kills, the story elements, the changes are awesome. And I'm one of those people who like changes in franchises. I can do franchises where they can be the same over and over, like Friday the 13th, and even those have some differences, but they're mostly just the same. But I can also do movies like, here's to the haters out there, Last Jedi. I love Last Jedi, Star Wars. I love how different that is and how unique that is. But I can watch a franchise either way. If it's got stuff that's the same but stuff that's different. And this one I thought did a good job. Final Destination Bloodlines did a really good job of being different. Um, like I said, just having the family angle really worked and really made these characters interesting, and just um, I just really like that, and I really wanted to see them get out of it, and it just made me look at this like, man, this is just a different way of expecting it, of expecting the movie to I expected the movie to be not as unique. Like, I mean, like I said, I love the franchise, even the fourth one, but they're not very. They've got a couple different elements in it, but this one is the one that is the most unique in the franchise, and I really like that. I think that's great. Um, all the characters are really interesting too, like I said, because they're the family dynamic, and they just are interesting. Um, None of these actors I really know. Besides Browns, I guess that's how you say his name, Briones. Tio Briones. He was in the Chucky show, which he was good in as well. Um, I know who he is, and I know who Raya Kilschlet. Man, they got a lot of interesting names. Raya Kilschlet, she who played Darlene in this movie, she was in Home Alone 3. Alice Ribbons. Just a weird cut right there, or weird reference there to Home Alone 3 from 1997, which I watched as a kid over and over. But none of these other actors, I had no idea who they were. I didn't. I looked up who they were afterwards, like Richard Harmon, who plays Eric Campbell, the one that people say is a standout. He was in Trick or Treat from 2007, but I didn't think about that because it was from 2007. But like I said, all these actors were really good, and I don't know much about them besides, like I said, Tio and Raya. Like, these two actors I've seen in a couple things, but I haven't seen them in much. And I really like that this movie didn't really give you actors that were big. And I guess that's kind of the way of the franchise anyways. These movies are not about big actors anyways, so I guess that's not a difference. But I did just think these actors were good and really interesting. And funny. This movie is hilarious, and it's not the type of humor that I expected. With the Final Destination franchise, it can go through different kind of ways of humor, like just the sadisticness of like how people die, but also like the fourth one where like it's so over the top, it's funny, at least to me. A lot of people didn't like that, but I thought that was fun. But like other ones, like where the humor is brought out because of the horrible deaths going in the movie, um like it's just interesting, like how they're set up like a Rube Goldberg machine. Literally, all these traps, or I mean, all these characters that get killed in all these movies. But this one has just a great sense of humor to it. The characters are funny, they're interesting. Some are likable, some are not, and I like how they have that family dynamic. I think that's great. Um, I gotta say, the opening scene is fantastic. Um, I saw a reviewer that said this, and it really spoke to me. It really felt like one of those movies from the 60s or 50s, like Volcano, or Earthquake, where you really get these larger than life stunts in this movie, and they're really effective. And the whole opening is just so good that, with the sound design, with the kills, with the suspense, with the build up, it might be the best quote unquote opening scene, even though all the opening scenes are either fun or great in this franchise for me. So this is just a home run in terms of the opening as well. You immediately get why Iris is such a kind of beautiful woman who just goes and is going to get engaged to her husband, which she didn't realize until she gets up there. But he surprises her to take her, and she's just got this. I don't know, the actress, her name is Breck Basinger. She just has this kind of aura whenever you watch her. Like, you just go, wow, I just really want to see where this character goes. And that really shows how good of an actress she is. And I don't think I've seen her in anything else. I know she's been in a DC thing, maybe. I think a DC show. But she just kind of gives off this what's the word, like vulnerability, I guess. Like she kind of personifies like a, what's the word, like a 1960s aesthetic, like of this like pretty woman who is unaware of anything that's going to happen, and then when it happens it's awful. And even the acting, even the way she speaks, feels like it's like she's from like the 60s, and I was not born in that time, of course, and neither was she. But I, watching old movies, the way people talk, it really felt like she did her homework, and I really liked that. I thought that was a great choice for an actress, which, like I said, I haven't seen her in anything else like most of these actors, but that's awesome. Um, and like I said, reminded me of Earthquake, like those old disaster movies. Like it feels like that, it looks like that, albeit with more extremely gory kills. But that's awesome though. And also, I gotta say, in that opening, that fucking kid who is the reason for all of this, the kid who throws the penny and the penny goes inside of the vent and starts everything and the explosion and all that. I love the fact that this movie killed a kid, because that kid deserved every single thing he got to him, because he like is the reason, and then he escapes like three times while the building's falling down, and then he makes it to the bottom, runs out happily, and then the piano that falls smashes that kid right into oblivion. And I love that, because that kid was an absolute shithead. That was awesome. That was just really good use of a kid kill in a horror movie, because it used to be taboo, and it's not as taboo anymore. It's getting less and less taboo to have a kid killed in a movie, because kids used to be like the innocent kind of thing, kind of like animals getting killed in movies. Like they're both an innocent being, but this kid was not. Fuck that kid. That kid was horrible. Um, but yeah, I love that. I also loved getting the backstory of Bloodworth, Tony Todd. Really good. I love that he was a child when this happened. Iris is the reason why he's been alive, and then he presumably dies immediately after the end, after everybody dies, because he was the other one who survived. I love that. I love seeing Tony Todd again for one last time. And I'm not gonna lie, I watched this twice in the theater, and both times I almost teared up, because Tony Todd gave a legit yes, cat. He gave a legit talking to the audience, and he said he knew he was gonna die soon. He had I think he had stomach cancer, colon cancer, and he passed away before this movie was released. His scenes were filmed, but of course the movie has to take a while to be made. But he died before the movie was released, and that is just so wonderful. Like the lines that he gave, like just the fact that he knew he was gonna go, like just worked really really well, and it was so effective. And I never got to meet him. That would have been awesome to meet Tony Todd. I go to a lot of conventions, but the ones I've been to, he did not go to those ones. So, man, it just what a horrible thing. I mean, of course he was only 68. He should have, but he had stomach cancer, so it was something that was obviously unavoidable. But it was just so great to see him again, and it was so poignant that it was a Final Destination movie that was his last. That's really strange, in a good way, like in a weird, like, haha, this is kind of eerie, but also wholesome too, kind of way, that this is the last movie he did. But yeah, just I was tearing up almost whenever he said like live life to the fullest, because he passed away right after this movie. And I guess the directors and all the cast and crew knew that he was going to, and I love that they probably asked him for his blessing to use those elements in this movie to show his legacy, to show that he was done. Like that was the end, but he would go out on a high. And I love that. I think that's great. Just really wish I could have met him. Tony Todd, that would have been cool. But yeah, long career, Candyman, Hatchet, a lot of other stuff, but the horror ones I know he's done. And there goes my cat again. But yeah, great seeing him in this great last movie. The gory kills are awesome. Like I said, the whole scene at the beginning where like there's a guy who's trying to get down the elevator because they're trying to get down the elevator because it's falling apart around them, and this man gets in half of the elevator and then it falls and just splits him and he splatters into pieces. And I think that that is so fun because it is cartoonishly gory, and that makes these movies fun and entertaining, and I love that. um and I love just seeing like that kid getting the piano on him. That was great. um the family's deaths with um Howard, I'm looking up the name, Howard, the uncle of Stephanie. He falls over, he gets like glass in his foot, falls over and gets a lawnmower on his head and just starts twitching, and it's great. And there's also behind the scenes I saw where he's actually doing that, but there's no fan in the lawnmower, or no blade, and it goes over his head and he just starts shaking, and that was awesome practical effects. I didn't realize that was all practical for the most part. um but my favorite death in the movie might be Julia's. She's the one where she gets taken into the dumpster, and then her face, it's just like this part of her face is left and she's stuck in the dumpster screaming, and it just smashes her face and it just explodes. That was awesome. That was obviously CG added, but the behind the scenes of that was really cool with her and the director Adam, I think it's Adam, who did the scene behind the scenes where like he's there and there's this substance that goes on your face, but it moves back whenever it goes on your face, so it looks like it's just her face left, part of her face left because of that. But I think that's so cool. Um, Also, the characters at the end getting killed by logs was a satisfying thing because it's just one of those things that the logs were so important in the second one, and that would be hilarious if it was just the same logs again. Of course, maybe not. I do like how the penny in this movie is like the ultimate villain. Like Death is the penny, and Death uses all elements around him in these movies. But I like the fact that the penny is is always there. It feels like the monkey that came out, the Stephen King story ish thing. I saw that movie, and it reminded me of that because that monkey's always there when death happens, and it made me think in this movie that in this one the penny is kind of like a beneficial instrument of death that is used. And it's funny because in the other movies I don't think that they do that, where like there's one specific item that is used over and over as the basis to start the Death Rube Goldberg stuff at the beginning and at the end of the movie. That was really cool. Um, Also, Eric Campbell's death, him getting thrown into the machine where he gets split in half, like his legs up there, hands up there, and goes through it. Like that was awesome. And then he wasn't even part of Death's list, which I thought was interesting. That's another element that was cool because he was not in the blood family. He was a bastard child, based on a cheated relationship within the family. I thought that was really cool. Um, I really love that. I think that Eric character people really liked a lot. Richard Harmon, they really dug his performance. I thought that was great, and I liked him in this. But yeah, the MRI thing is great with him. But also Bobby, the brother who's part of the family, who gets the, what's it called? It's like in the vending machine. It's the spring. The spring goes through his head, drills through his head, where it's just like his head falls off, or top of his head falls off. That was great. And all of these kills are really top notch. I really like that. Almost all of them. Darlene's though is kind of like cheap, but it was just a quick like bye. Like she's gone. She can't do anything else for you, kind of death, or she just gets hit by a pole or something and she's gone. And Darlene too. I thought that was interesting with the family dynamic. It reminded me of Halloween 2018 in a way because Stephanie, the granddaughter, goes to the dilapidated, or not dilapidated, the foolproof house that Iris has created, and Iris has a good death too, where she gets the pull through her mouth. That was excellent. But anyways, Stephanie goes to Iris's big bunker where like everything is rigged, like Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode in Halloween 2018. Very similar to that. And also, it's a daughter, a granddaughter, and a grandma. So it's interesting that they did that. Where like Stephanie goes to this dilapidated house from her grandma, and it's just a similar story thing to Halloween 2018. And also, like I said, granddaughter, daughter, and granddaughter. So it's interesting to see all that element stay the same. And also with Darlene, she like ran away and didn't want to be a part of the family anymore. That was kind of like Halloween 2018 too, where like Karen was taken away as a kid, so she didn't want to be part of the family. And then in this one, Howard and Darlene, brother and sister of or daughter and son of Iris, stayed away from their mom because she was crazy, like Laurie Strode was in Halloween 2018. I just think that's interesting that they have a very similar, like, similar plot device. Or is that the word, plot device? Like similar plot elements with that. So I thought that was interesting. But I liked it. I'm not saying that's a dig against the movie. I thought that was cool. And like I said, I'm trying to think of anything else. This just really, really surprised me. I just love the hell out of this. It's coming out on Blu-ray next month, and I can't wait for it. I will obviously buy it. Definitely want to get the Steelbook. Just glad that this movie is doing great and it's being supported and everybody likes it or loves it. I'm glad that this is so fun for everybody. Yeah, really dug it. So that's pretty much all I could say. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.